Hi everyone, I'm Alaa Elhiraika, and welcome to my playlist presentation. This is Sounding Sudan, focusing on wedding, memory, exchange, and cultural survival in the contemporary. This is a playlist exploring Sudanese music as a site of all of this and cultural persistence across generations. So for some context here, I grew up going to Sudanese Arabic school. I was always a little embarrassed by my broken Arabic and my accent. Sudanese identity definitely felt like something I had to keep proving I belonged to. But that definitely changed on a family trip to Sudan in 2016. I was at a wedding in Khartoum, and that night I felt as if the drums were hitting so hard that I could feel them in my chest. And the dancing, the zagruta, the voices, they all moved together almost like one body. That was the first time I understood Sudanese music as not just sound. I saw it more so as ceremony, something that could evoke memory and produce belonging. So this playlist is my attempt to listen more carefully to the music I inherited. Not as something frozen in the past, but as something people use to celebrate, grieve, protest, remember, and gather. And to trace how it moves from weddings to studios, from Sudan into diaspora, while it keeps carrying everything it remembers. So, for some historical and cultural context, Sudan sits at a crossroads. The Nile Valley, Northeast Africa, the Arabic speaking world, and the older histories of Nubia and Kush. So, I don't hear this music as simply Arab or simply African. It's layered. Pentatonic melody, Sudanese Arabic, Islamic and Sufi influence, and rhythms shaped as much by women's gatherings and colonial era urbanization as by elite composers and formal stages. Sudanese Arabic itself carries local metaphors, humor, and political double meanings that get lost if you just try to hear the Arabic in general. So I've organized this playlist as a story in three movements: ceremony, national memory, and diaspora, because that's really the thread tying all 8 tracks together. As established at the beginning, it's very important to listen carefully. So before the tracks, listen for repetition first, a line returning again and again, each time a little warmer or more urgent. Listen for call and response, where a solo voice begins and a chorus completes the thought. Listen for percussion doing social work, organizing walking, clapping, collective attention, whether that's a DeLuca frame drum or a modern drum kit. And listen for the voice itself, ornamented, nasal, or bright, capable of making love, praise, grief, and politics feel like connected forms of expression rather than separate categories. So here we have movement 1, which focuses on ceremony, wedding, and communal sound. And the first song that we have here is Adila Ya Beida. The second is Ana Bihibbak Ya Muhazzab. And the third is Azza Fi Hawak. So the first song that we have is Adila Ya Beida, and I'm gonna go ahead and play a short clip of this.
الليل ليل العديل وزهين والليل
So that was a short clip of Adila Ya Beida performed by Salma Asr. It's a very old traditional song used in Sudanese Zafa wedding processions, and the rhythm called Al-Saira. The version I'm using isn't a raw field recording, it's a studio revival produced by Hossam Ramzi, and it places Asal's voice inside a full ensemble of bongos, tabla, dohola, accordion, and violin. This is very important because it shows a wedding procession song moving into a modern recorded form without losing its ceremonial function. The lead vocal still carries the melody, but the percussion creates the forward motion of procession in the song. This is where the playlist begins, viewing music as ceremony, something a body moves through, and hearing it, not just something you listen to. The next song we have is Azafi Hawak. This is track 2, one of the great patriotic songs of Khalil Fareh, a pioneer of modern Sudanese song in the early 20th century. On the surface, it's a love song to a woman named Azza, but the lyrics name Khartoum, Shambat, and Durman. So Azza is also Sudan itself, And loving her becomes a way of loving homeland at a moment when saying that directly wasn't always safe. In the choral version I'm using, men and women sing together in unison, backed by violin, oud, accordion, and flute, which makes the song feel less like one person's private composition and more like a memory the whole country holds and repeats together. And then third, we have أنا بحبك يا محسب by Aisha Al-Falatia, one of the most important women's voices in 20th century Sudanese music. She started singing professionally at 14, despite real social stigma against women performers. And by the 1930s, she was recording in Cairo and broadcasting on Omdurman radio, even performing for soldiers during World War II. Her solo voice here, with bowed strings and a steady drum pulse underneath, isn't just a love song. It's very much evidence that women helped build modern Sudanese popular sound from the beginning, and not just from its margins. So now we are on movement 2. We are focusing on urban popular music, women's performance, and national sound. The two songs we have here first is Fitev Ofi Sahaya, and the second is Green October. So this is Fitev Ofi Sahaya, and I'm going to play a short clip of this. So this was track 4 by Al-Balabil, which is a trio of sisters who became major stars in 1970s Sudan, at a time when women singing publicly was still very much socially controversial. In this unison performance, the sisters sing a line together, pause together, read together over an arrangement of violin, saxophone, electric guitar, and accordion, to name a few, which gives the longing in the lyrics a suspended, almost physical quality. Al-Balabil are very important because they show women's voices becoming central to modern Sudanese sound and not incidental to it. So now we have Muhammad Waradi, Green October. This one is tied to the 1964 uprising that brought down a military government. Waradi was a Nubian singer who began on Radio Omdurman in 1957 and became one of Sudan's most important political voices. He was later imprisoned and exiled for his music after the 1989 coup. Here, his solo voice carries the weight of revolution over a flute line and steady percussion, building to a chorus of backing voices that turns the song from one man's performance into something collective. A reminder that in Sudan, music has repeatedly been how people imagine and remember political change. So now we're on to movement 3, which focuses on protest, diaspora, and modern transformation. The 3 songs we have here, first we have Dam, which means blood, then we have Alaa Billel, and then we have last Habibi Ta'al. So I'm going to play a short clip of Dam.
On the mic, I we no want no for some, we no want no fight. I'm on a lion, sent him on the king. Watch out down Babylon, you know we have to say.
So in this one, we turn to Ayman Mo's Dam, of course, or Blood, which is a reggae and hip-hop protest track written before the 2019 uprising, with lyrics naming live ammunition, militia violence, and corruption directly rather than hiding behind metaphor. When Mo performed it live at the sit-in outside Army headquarters in Khartoum, the crowd answered every line with Thora, meaning revolution. That moment turned a recorded rap track into a chant, and it's one of the clearest examples in this playlist of music moving out of the studio and into the body of a crowd. And then next we have Elele Bilel by Shukralla Izzeldin, which brings the playlist back to everyday life. Coffee on Nile Street, incense, a beloved compared to sugar and medicine. Musically, it's built on call and response over a steady drum pattern and electronic keyboard. A male voice leads, a chorus answers, and women's voices briefly take over the lead. This one is personal for me too. It's a song I grew up hearing constantly from my parents in the car. It's not an official archive of Sudanese music, but it's definitely a family one.
الليلة بالليل نمشي شارع النيل قهوة بمزاج انت السكر.
And then now we close with Habibi Ta'al. I'm gonna play a short clip of this one.
يا حبيبي
حبيبي تعال تعال نحلم مدام الريد انطلق الدم مدام الريد انطلق الدم انا ذنبي ايش شيلوني هم.
Closing with Habibi Ta'al by Al Sarra and the Nubatons, which is a Brooklyn-based group who call their sound East African retro pop. Their music carries Nubian songs of return, memories shaped by displacement after the Aswan Dam flooded Nubian villages, into a completely different setting, built on oud, percussion, and bass behind Al Sarra's lead voice. This is where the diaspora question is very important. This music doesn't stop being African because it's made in Brooklyn. Its language, rhythm, and memory all point straight back to Sudan and Nubia, even as it reaches listeners who have never been there. So what holds this playlist together isn't one sound. It's very much transformation. A wedding song becomes a studio recording. A love poem becomes national memory. Women's voices move from private gatherings into public professional sound. A revolutionary anthem becomes something people carry through decades of repression. A rap track becomes a street chant. A Nubian memory of displacement becomes a Brooklyn dance record. Sudanese music keeps changing because Sudanese life keeps changing. But across every one of these 8 tracks, it never stops carrying what it remembers. Taking this class has really changed how I listen. I used to hear these songs mostly as nostalgia. My family, my childhood, my mother's car. Now I feel like I hear structure, call and response, heterophony, melodic ornamentation, the difference between a live social performance and the studio arrangement. I hear the Nile, Nubia, and Kush underneath songs I thought I already knew, and I hear Africa as history rather than as a vague backdrop. Listening more carefully hasn't made this music feel more distant. It's actually made it feel more like history I can understand. So in conclusion, this playlist is called Sounding Sudan because these 8 tracks don't just represent Sudan. They sound out its history. African, Arab, Islamic, Nubian, urban, and diasporic all at once. The full playlist, all 8 songs in order, is linked on the screen and in the description. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you again. Music 1510, Music of Africa has been such a wonderful class to take. Here, I have my works cited, very extensive. I have pages 1, 2, and 3 here. And then I have it continued on to this slide, pages 4, 5, and 6. And now I have a slide that's actually detailing sources for further study. This is really great for those that are interested in further studying Sudanese music and taking a look at some of the things that inspired me. So I have some scholarly sources here. Muhammad Jalal Hashim, which Sudanese music, a loud voice silenced by an inconvenient ideology. This was really insightful to read. And then among the others, we have Muhammad Abu Sabib, and we have the Sudan Handbook. And then we have, of course, an interview source by Ahmed Sikanga, which was Sudan, a musical history. And then we had some additional sources. I was taking a look at Afropop worldwide, of course. And then there's YouTube recordings you can look at for all the artists that I've spoken about today. And looking at images of Sudanese weddings and such would also be very helpful in understanding the music as well. Thank you so much again, and have a great rest of your year.